Okay, I guess I can anytime.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'd first like to thank the trustees and the board for the opportunity to speak here this evening. And I'd like to begin my remarks with a mea culpa of sorts. Until about 18 months ago, I paid this board no attention, really. I couldn't have told you the first thing about it. I now understand that that was a failure on my part as both a parent and a citizen, and for that I do apologize. But one particular evening, the January before last, I was jolted out of my ignorance. And to be honest, my faith in our local democracy was profoundly shaken. That evening I watched as a teacher attempted to earnestly bring forth concerns, and that teacher was silenced in a manner that I did not think possible in a free society. I was still under the impression that we lived in a free and open democratic society, a society where any citizen could freely voice concerns about the education of our children. A society where no matter how ill-informed, inarticulate, or even deranged were one's views, they could be heard publicly before a democratically elected board designed for that purpose. If you feel ignored, marginalized, not taken seriously by colleagues or superiors, or dismissed by your child's teachers or principal, then there's a place you can go where your elected representatives will hear you out in a public forum with your fellow citizens present to bear witness. At a minimum, people have a right to be heard, and just as importantly, the rest of us have a right to hear them. We need to hear the words, the ideas, the free thoughts of our neighbors, and especially those with whom we disagree or even find offensive. How else can we possibly understand our own favored positions if we've not heard or even considered the arguments against them? Vigorous and constructive debate is to be encouraged. We need to model this for our students and our children. That, after all, is the real world. It's not one of false consensus, false praise, and doublespeak. Free expression is a defining feature of a free society. And on that January evening, these most basic of human rights, to be heard and to hear, were coldly dispatched in the name of human rights. Orwell himself could hardly have concocted a more sinister beneficence. Which brings me to another defining feature of a free society. It's called representative democracy. I've watched the recent board meetings where trustees have twisted themselves into unresolvable verbal knots trying to justify avoiding any public input into the trustee selection process. Now, why might that be? I obviously don't know, but here's a clue. I've been asked here tonight as a quote-unquote applicant, and notice the affront to democracy simply by using the term applicant, like it's a job one applies to. That I'm standing here appealing to the board rather than appealing to voters is in itself a brazen betrayal of public trust. I've been asked to describe how, as a trustee, I would support the strategic plan. Let that sink in for a moment. I've not been asked how I'd represent constituents. The board does not seem interested in how I might solicit feedback from parents, teachers, students, or the tax-paying public to understand their concerns about public education. Instead, I'm being asked to demonstrate my fealty to the status quo. I'm being asked to reassure the board that I'll be a team player, that I'll be a good boy, and obediently take direction from corporate. In other words, that I'll get with the program. But of course, this isn't a corporation, and I have no interest in being a sales rep. Well, now, let me now respond to the question at hand. After all, that's what I've been asked here to do. So how would I support the strategic plan? And here's my answer. I don't know why I, or anyone else, should be expected to. That is not the job of a trustee. It's simply to represent the electorate. The board should expect, and frankly, should cherish, those who are courageous enough to offer a dissenting opinion. It's the only safeguard against groupthink, giving an honest opinion. Now, that opinion may not turn out to be correct, and it shouldn't have to be, but it should be independent, and it should be forthright. Our students deserve no less. I thank you again for your time.